It may look like any other elementary school song and dance program for parents, but you may not notice at first glance that these kids are speaking and singing in Spanish and English. What is happening at West Kearns Elementary School is a lot more than teaching young students to memorize some lines in another language. They have daily classes where they learn math, science, or social studies in both languages. Nobody was more surprised at the progress than the principal.
And I'm watching the kids, and they're totally on task. They're responding, they're comprehending what she's saying, they're following directions. And I was just giggling because I was like, this is incredible. This is only a few months of school.
In 7 Granite District elementary schools, starting as early as first grade, the students enrolled in the dual immersion program receive half of each day's instruction in Spanish, French, or Chinese, depending on the school where the children are enrolled.
This song tells us of Rita's cat and the things he likes to do. Cantaremos la canción El gato de Rita. Esperemos les guste.
West Kearns Elementary dual immersion teacher Shirley Sines says the young students are eager to learn about another world culture, and she says there is no better age for children to learn a second language.
Well, we teach the vocabulary also as we're doing the teaching. We do a lot of hands-on things. The kids have a math journal in which they write the vocabulary both in English and Spanish, and when you're using the vocabulary a lot, then they are able to practice it quite a bit, and they can understand what you're doing.
Educators have learned that dual immersion students not only begin to acquire another language, but as a second language increases the brain's ability to solve problems, that can also improve academics.
They get so much more and such a deeper level that I think it's only going to increase what they're doing in their test-taking abilities and skills, because they'll have the vocabulary, they'll have those comprehension and learning strategies that I think will only benefit them across the board.
Granite District schools are now teaching immersion classes in Spanish and French. But if young students can learn these Latin-based languages, what happens if they're placed in a Chinese class? Such a program is also operating in 2 of our schools. This year, Smith Elementary held a Chinese summer camp to give students, most of whom who have never heard the language, a chance to get a head start.
Each day will be filled. One half day will be the English part, and then the other half is all in Chinese.
The program attracted many English-speaking American families and some who come from other cultures.
Well, when you learn the language, you usually learn a little bit about the culture, and you learn a little bit the values, and so it helps open yourself up a little bit, not only to accept what you're familiar, but also what you're not familiar with. So it makes you more easier to assimilate, the cultures, I think.
我是 Rebecca， 她是 Rebecca， 对不对？ Yeah， 是的。那
Summer camp indeed. Some of the wide-eyed young students felt they had been dropped off at boot camp. Their teacher, Mrs. Chipman, would speak no English to this class, only Chinese.
中文我是毕老师，可以说毕老。
Smith Elementary School contracted with Chinese fluent teachers from Brigham Young University to conduct a program called Star Talk. For 8 days, the students are immersed in Chinese-only teaching for part of the day. The second half of each day's camp mingles Chinese instruction and English.
What's a muji? Say it together, everybody.
By mid-morning on the first day, some of the young students are enthusiastically responding in their new language.
What's that?
National language experts confirm that young childhood is the best time to learn languages.
The young brain seems to be pre-wired for language learning. And so language learning comes naturally to young children. Later on, other older students and adults can learn new languages, but they don't learn them in the same ways that young children do. There's some pretty good evidence that early childhood is an ideal time for students to begin to develop a second language, not only in school, but even in the home.
Recreation, too, is in Chinese. The students are taught Chinese music and dance.
Already in the first hour, you can tell them, come here, stand up, sit down. And so it's pretty cool.
And they're getting it.
And they are, and they're understanding every bit of it.
8、9、10，呀，很好，好看这里。1，2，那我是
B 老师。
，yeah， 我是。
After only a week of half-day Chinese immersion classes, the students show substantial comprehension and response in their new language. At the end of the camp, they are ready to demonstrate their newfound culture to their parents through story and music.
With some language, with an understanding of the culture that they're going to enter as they go into language programs, these particular children are all enrolled in an immersion program that's going to start this fall in this elementary school.
And parents were amazed at their children's progress and comprehension.
I'm pretty familiar with the way that the language sounds, and so as I picked him up from school, we were driving home and he starts speaking and it sounded exactly like what my husband sounds like, and so I was impressed that the first day he had already picked up that much.
For more information about regular immersion classes in Spanish, French, or Chinese, call Granite District Schools at 385-646-4541 or visit us at www.graniteschools.org and search for Immersion.